Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I, of course, am Lewis Porter Jr., and today we're going to talk about something that's kind of a pet peeve of mine that I don't understand, but maybe there's an answer out there that maybe one of you can tell me. So, why aren't D&D and fantasy type RPG comics more popular with the comic book fan base? I don't get this one. I mean, if you think about fantasy by itself, fantasy is probably one of the most popular genres of fiction that anyone can think of. There are basically a metric ton of fantasy worlds that have been developed and created out there that people can look at, from the very traditional stuff that you think Conan to the more extreme and obscure fantasy lines. But for some reason, it never really translates well into comics. And I don't get that, because I mean, they have good writers, they have good artwork, they usually have a fan base because it's fantasy, but they never seem to sell well. And it's the weirdest thing that doesn't make any sense at all. Because you think about it, if you're putting together a comic and you're doing fantasy, there's going to be a fan base. Okay, look, Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, multi-million dollar properties based on fantasy that did very well. I mean, they told stories. So it's like, if you focus on telling a good story and it's fantasy, why wouldn't it sell as a comic book? I mean, the only successful fantasy comic book that I can think of off the top of my head quickly that I know, without a doubt, Conan. And that's done well, but it seems like there never are anything else. I know that Marvel's tried, I know that DC's tried, I know that some independent guys have tried, but really, the fantasy genre does not do well in comics. And it's kind of weird to think about it that way. I mean, sci-fi does pretty decent. I mean, sci-fi has a fan base, but they still don't do that well relative to superheroes. But it's weird. It's stuff that should have already done material, like already created, already the fan base is there, everything's there. Why don't they translate? What is wrong about comics that fantasy fans don't like? Because, and then even more importantly, what is it about fantasy comic book that comic book fans don't like? I mean, superheroes in tights, yeah, we can go with that. And yeah, there are some characters that carry swords. I mean, the Shining Knight from DC, the Black Knight from Marvel, but they don't seem to ever do very well to translate. It's something that they can't seem to understand, how to make better. I don't think they know how to do this. I just don't think they know how to do it. They want to do it. They would love to do it. They just can't do it. And I wonder why that is. It's like whoever figures out that little piece of the puzzle, whatever you want to call it, they're going to make $1 bazillion, because the fantasy fans do buy stuff. I mean, let's be honest. Fantasy fans like to read books. Comics should be an easy translation for them, but it isn't. These are also the same guys who buy tons of video games and play them for hours, but they don't seem to buy the comics. So what is it? You tell me. I don't know. I can't think about what it is. I don't understand it. I thought it'd be something easy to understand and define, but for some reason it just doesn't work that way. So tell me what you think. Do me a favor. Leave a comment below what you think, what the reason might be, and maybe we can talk about it. Maybe we can solve it. Who knows? Maybe we can do something amazing with this. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Oh, and also don't forget, subscribe. We always like when you subscribe. That's helpful too. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you later.